Chinese retaliatory tariffs on U.S. agriculture are getting real. President Donald Trump unleashing another flurry of tariffs on China this week, aimed at getting the two countries to a negotiating table for fair trade. Latest round greeted with more tariffs by the Chinese on U.S. products. As an all-out trade war looms, members of the ag community are concerned. National Farmers Union Vice President for Public Policy and Communications, Rob LaRue, expressed the group's concern, saying that China has unquestionably engaged in unfair and manipulative trade for many years, and that they agree with President Trump's effort to address the actions. But he says the group strongly disagrees with his go-it-alone approach. They want to see him working side by side with other countries from around the globe. Now, in 2017, the U.S. exported more than $19.6 billion worth of ag products to China, made it the second largest export market for U.S. farmers and ranchers. Chinese market has increased exponentially for U.S. farm and ranch goods since 2000, becoming especially critical for U.S. soybean growers who sit nearly 60% of last season's crop there. Now, in response to the U.S. tariffs originally on steel and aluminum, as well as those imposed on only China for those violations of intellectual property, China now has imposed hefty tariffs on more than 90% of U.S. ag exports to that country. So as a result, China is expected to drop from being the second largest market for the U.S. to the fifth largest market next year. And the World Trade Organization is feeling this. Director General Roberto Azevedo briefed G20 trade ministers at a recent meeting on the current situation in global trade, including the rising tensions between major trading partners and the role of the WTO in easing those tensions. Ministerial statement arising from the meeting recognized the urgent need to discuss current events in international trade, as well as ways to improve the WTO to face both current and future challenges. He addressed the meeting, stressing that it is important to acknowledge, first, that trade tensions are on the rise, second, that the WTO can provide a forum to ease some of the tensions, and finally, that the issue deserves the attention of G20 leaders. Now, some countries, including the U.S. and the European Union, have been talking about major reforms at the WTO to reflect current conditions and a new era in global trade. Regarding a possible conversation about the reform, Azevedo said that whatever the format of the conversation, it is clear you can't have reform that only takes into account the concerns of some. He does say the WTO is interested in listening. And repayment rates for farm loans have declined every quarter since the second quarter of 2013. It suggests heightening stress in agricultural lending. If repayment rates continue to decline and the outlook for the agricultural sector remains downbeat, ag banks could become less able to lend to credit-worthy farm borrowers. Thus, declining repayment rates could lead to adverse outcomes for ag banks, farmers, and the rural economies they serve. Now, Courtney Cowley uses data from the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City's Ag Credit Survey to model and map the areas with the highest probability of stress in ag lending. She finds that the largest increase in stress over the past decade occurred in 2016. She also finds that lower crop revenues, lower off-farm income, lower farmland values, lower concentrations of farm earnings, and higher interest rates are associated with higher stress in that ag lending. And with another Ag News update, I'm Tony St. James.